With the wind howling outside his Souk home, Chris Dixon loses power at 6 o'clock Tuesday night. Just 15 minutes later, a huge tree topples right on top of his house.
But we didn't actually even hear a crack. It was just the impact on the top of the house. We couldn't hear the crack over the sound of the wind. And it was just the ceiling coming in. And my first thought was to, cover my wife and get her to the basement.
Dixon manages to get himself, his wife, and their dog to safety. The tree cuts through the house, starting at the front door and going straight through the center of the house and all the way through the back.
It was definitely scary, and we're lucky.
Trees block the driveway to this Souk home, preventing the residents from leaving. It's the worst damage Duff Johnston has seen in his 28 years here.
It's major. Being an east wind last night, it's not our normal wind here. We don't tend to get the easterlies as much as westerlies, so the trees aren't maybe as accustomed to it, right? So, and it's wet, the ground's wet, so they uproot.
Environment Canada says it's the first time this fall we've seen the wind blow from that direction. And despite the damage, the good news is that this bomb cyclone kept its distance.
The big benefit of this storm, as we talked about, is that it was always going to hang out offshore, 400 kilometers. Now it's further still. So it meant that we had a big blow, and mostly that we had a long blow. Fortunately, it wasn't as bad as it could have been had this low crossed over Vancouver Island.
Downed power lines in Souk resulted in the closure of a number of elementary schools, extending into Wednesday morning.
We had multiple schools that were down with power over the night, and then they started to come in back online as the morning started to round out. So just getting heat and staff back in the buildings was, what our main focus was this morning.
However, 3 elementary schools remain closed for the day. On Hutchinson Road in Cobble Hill, trees fell like dominoes.
I was sitting by the fire and on the floor, and when it fell, you could feel it through the house, and we, of course, had to come out and investigate. Didn't see too much happening. Went back into the house, and then we saw the flashing lights, so we had to come back out again. And the fire trucks were there, cutting all the logs up.
The cleanup continues, including work necessary to lift this houseboat knocked off a dock in the Gorge waterway. But already thoughts are turning to the next storm. While not quite as intense as this one, it's expected to arrive by Friday.